Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Under the Sportlight, the podcast that explores the people who live and breathe professional sport. I'm your host Phil, and today we're joined by Jasmine Shaw. She is a British racing driver who began competing at a young age and has steadily worked her way up through the ranks of competitive motorsport. Her journey reflects what it really takes to build a modern racing career, balancing performance on track, continuous technical development, university studies, and the business realities behind the sport. Jasmine, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. And, as we get started, I'd love to know a little bit more about your childhood and growing up. What was it like for you, and what kind of kid were you growing up?
Um, so I actually didn't get into racing until I was 15. So growing up, I really enjoyed karting. I did a lot of different things actually. I was very musical. I did a lot of different sports as well, but I really did enjoy karting. So I didn't come from a racing background. No one in my family had ever raced, but I did love Formula One through my dad. And yeah, every year for my birthday, I just wanted to go go-karting. So um, it got to a point where the staff were a bit sick of me and told me that, pointed me in the direction of national go-karting. So yeah, growing up, I was very competitive. I was quite academic. I really liked school. Yeah, just did a lot. I was a very, very busy kid. I always had to have at least like three things going on.
So, did you just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I want to go karting"?
So like I said, I got into Formula One through my dad. Every year for our holiday, we would go to South France, and there was a go-kart track there. So from a young age, every family holiday, my dad would take us go-karting around that track, which was what got me into karting. And it sort of became like a family tradition. And then when I got a bit older, like maybe like 8 or 9, I kept just asking to go to our local public track, which was in Gloucester. So it was quite a trek. It was like an hour or so away, but that was the one thing that I'd asked for my birthday. So yeah, that's what got me into karting. And then when I was about 13, I was there for my birthday again, and the staff told us about national go-karting. So which we had no clue about. So it actually turned out there was a go-kart track about 10 minutes from our house that hosted national, race weekends, so which was like, I don't know how we missed that. Don't know how we'd never seen that before, but, so went to go and watch when I was 13, loved it, obviously, and I was begging my dad to let me start. Then they said that it would probably be best if we waited until that season had ended and start the next season. So that's what we did. So, but then when I was 14, we went into lockdown, so couldn't actually start that year. So when I was 15, came out of lockdown, and the first thing I did was get a go kart, and yeah, that's how I got into it.
And then I guess my next question then would be like, what moment was it that you were like, okay, I'm go karting, love it. What's the next step? How do we get up from here? And what do we do next? What was that moment like?
So because I joined so late, it was quite it was always like in the back of my mind that I was a very late starter. So I started when I was 15. I was competing against kids who'd started like a decade before me, which was insane given I was only 15. Um, so yeah, so when I started the karting, I knew that if I did want to get anywhere with racing, I was going to have to move on pretty quick. So we only did the one season in karting. And we went to a karting like event hosted at Silverstone called Kartmania. It's sort of like an exhibition, like people have different stands and things. And there was an advertisement for a scholarship in Fiesta Juniors. I was only 15 at the time, so obviously our first reaction was like, "You're 15, you can't drive cars." Um, but we went over and we spoke to them, we learned a bit more about it, and we decided to enter. So we entered the scholarship competition. I did all right. I got to the semi-finals of the competition, but then I got COVID, so I wasn't allowed to continue, which
Oh.
was great. um, but but it did give me a chance to try out the cars, drive a race car on a proper racetrack, and obviously fell in love with that too. So after we were turned away from the scholarship, we sort of decided that no, we were still going to try and do it. So it was quite close to the season starting, and we reached out to a team, and they had one car left for the season that wasn't taken by anyone. So we just went for it and joined. I remember the first round when we turned up to the track the night before the round was gonna start, and we were walking up and down the paddock because we hadn't been to a proper, like,
Yeah.
race paddock before,
Yeah.
and I remember we found our garage, we walked inside, and my car was there, and it had my name, Shaw, on the window on the side, and I was only 16 then, and I just remember, like, it all hit us in that moment. It was completely, like, silent, no one was around, it was, like, middle of the night, and me and my dad were just stood in this garage with my race car, the first time seeing it, and it was very surreal. I was so excited, but I was so nervous, and I remember we kinda looked at each other like, "Oh my god, we're doing this." Like, there's no going back now, and we turned around to the corner of the garage, and in the corner was this senior Fiesta that they were also racing that round, but it had rolled, and
Oof.
the whole front, like, top of the car was just crushed. So there was this moment of like, "Oh my god, we're doing this." Then we turned around and it's just this flattened car. And my dad was just like, "Oh my god, what are we doing? Like, what have we done?" Um, but no, so started, then I think I went from 16th to 9th in that first race. So, um, yeah, I just fell in love with Fiestas. It was such a good time. But yeah, so that's how I got into it. Very
Yeah.
long-winded way of explaining.
No, that's okay. It's very interesting because you're telling the story, and all I'm thinking about is your dad looking at everything happening, and then the crushed car beside you, and I'm like, okay, yeah, and my child is just going to go and drive
Yeah,
one of those and race one of those. So that must have been
yeah.
great for him.
I mean, it was probably a good thing that my mum hadn't come with us to that first round because she would have pulled me out and driven us straight home after seeing that.
Yeah, you would not have driven the next day.
No, absolutely not.
Do you feel like, going into driving these Fiestas, and now you're driving, you said 15, 16, you're not even at road driving age.
Yeah.
What's road driving age in the UK?
17.
17. Okay, so you're not even a road driving age and you're already driving carts. Now you're going into these Fiestas. Did you feel like you had to mature pretty quickly there going into driving these actual real cars?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the junior car series in the UK, you can be 14, I think. So it's there's quite a range of young drivers getting to drive these cars. And obviously it's a huge responsibility at a young age, being responsible for a race car going very fast. Like those Fiestas could get up to 100 mile an hour and often did around certain tracks. So being responsible for your own safety at that level of danger and competition was quite a big responsibility at a young age. And yeah, like I said, it was definitely a bit of like, oh my god, like I'm actually trusted to do this. I'm trusted to drive this car. When I can't, I wasn't even legally allowed to drive 20 mile an hour or down my country lanes. It was a bit surreal. So yeah, definitely, it was definitely a lot of maturing to handle that responsibility of your own safety at that stage.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can't drive it from the road into the racing paddock, but you can drive it out of the paddock into the track and then go extremely fast on it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, it was a bit backwards. Um, yeah, so my dad would always drive us around everywhere, which was nice after, like, a whole day of driving. Then if we were driving back to a hotel or whatever, I could just go to sleep in the
sit
passenger
back
seat.
and relax. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
most people that I talk to, they are racing drivers and that start early, which is a little bit different than what happened for you. Or they start a lot earlier, like you mentioned. They from early on, they either have already a racing family, or people in their family that already do it. So it's a little bit of a different experience for them in relation to mentors or people that they look up to. Did you at any point in the beginning of your journey have any mentors or people that you looked up to in the racing business?
So, like I mentioned, my dad was very into Formula One, so that's how I got into that, and he was always a Lewis Hamilton supporter, so naturally I then was as well. And I think obviously I didn't have any female role models to look up to in that sense, but Lewis was quite a big role model for me, being the minority. Obviously, not a woman, but he was the minority on the grid, just like I was the only girl on my grid. So, um, yeah, he was definitely who I looked up to in the beginning. When I started karting, I found out that Alice Powell, I'm not sure, yeah, Alice
Hmm.
Powell, she's a female racing driver who actually went to my school
Okay.
that I wasn't aware of until I really started following her journey. So I think she was then obviously a role model in that sense, coming from where I came from. Yeah, so initially Lewis Hamilton, and then Alice sort of gave me someone to relate to in a closer sense.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that, the story of you entering the Fiesta Junior Championship as you're starting out. Did anything surprise you about the competitiveness of the grid, of the track, of the people around you, and how cutthroat they were on the track?
Yeah, it was definitely a big shock. Obviously being one of 2 girls on the grid, I was the minority, and at that age, boys do have a different driving style to girls, more in most cases. So, it was definitely a shock to when I was just sort of trying to handle or get used to the responsibility I had of driving that car. It was definitely a shock to then add on the the racing and the racecraft of all the boys.
Yeah,
At that young age, there was definitely quite a big difference in racecraft and driver technique and driving style. Not only was I sort of learning the car, I was sort of learning how they would all drive and predicting what they were going to do. And obviously, naturally, at that age, drivers are gonna be more aggressive, like, that they are younger, they maybe don't understand the responsibility they have
right.
of them and their car. So, yeah, it was definitely a shock, at that age, but I think I got used to it pretty quickly.
What is your best memory from those couple seasons that you raced the Fiestas?
Well, I mean, off track, it was a lovely series. I had so much fun. I met so many great people, the teams, the drivers, the parents, just the whole paddock was lovely. So I had a great time off track. On track, I I remember it was my last round ever with Fiestas because I was 17. I was then too old to continue into the next year. So 2 seasons with the same team and the same paddock and everything. It was my last race going into Brands Hatch, and I remember I that was the race that I got my first podium. Um,
Nice.
so that's definitely a highlight for me. It was already a very emotional weekend, saying goodbye to the team, the drivers, and everyone, and then and then getting that podium, meaning we weren't walking away from 2 seasons empty-handed, was just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great feeling.
That's cool. I'm imagining your parents also being really happy and finding that a really cool experience too, seeing you on the podium.
Yeah, obviously my dad was over the moon. And so were my coaches, and it's my lock screen actually. It was me and
Oh,
my dad
nice.
that day.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me.
That's cool. And now tell me
Mm.
then, moving on, so now you're done with the fiestas. Tell me about moving into is it the Edge Caterham 7270R Championship Series? Is that
Yeah, it's a
correct?
bit of a
Yes.
mouthful.
Yes. Okay, I got it. I got it right though. So
Yeah.
I have my cheat sheet here with me. So, what motivated you to go into that specific category? And tell me about how all that happened.
So after Fiestas, obviously, like I mentioned, we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't have anyone in the family or anyone to guide us sort of through the racing world. So we were sort of just trying to guide ourselves through this, really. So when we finished Fiestas, we did a bit of single-seater testing, and one of those single-seaters was an old F3 car. So when we were testing that, I also met another female driver called Louise Deason. So I got to know her, and I got to know that she also raced in Caterhams, which we'd seen obviously on track days, but we didn't really know much about the championships and everything. So she told us a bit about it. She explained how it works. So there's 5 different levels, 5 different championships for Caterhams. So you can go in at um, academy. So that's the first championship, and that's for complete beginners. So if you've had any sort of race license beforehand, you can't enter that one. And it goes all the way up to the Caterham 7 championship. So we obviously couldn't go into academy, but we were looking at which one we were going to enter. So in the end, we decided to go into 270, which was the third middle championship. So I was racing against drivers who had been there since academy. So this was their third year of racing Caterhams, if not longer. So it was a bit of like jumping in at the deep end, obviously, with a car that I didn't know, a paddock that I didn't know, and drivers with quite a lot of experience. So,
Hmm.
but we went for it and worked out all right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure those are very different from the Fiestas as well, right?
Yeah, very different. Obviously, it's an open
Yeah,
cockpit. It's rear wheel drive. You're very low to the ground. Yeah, it was definitely a big difference. Obviously, learning to race in a front wheel is completely the opposite of racing in a rear wheel. So that definitely took a long time to get used to. But I did sort of start practicing that when I was testing and experimenting with single seaters. So um, yeah, yeah, that took a while to get used to.
yeah. Tell me, like, practically, tell me, because I only drive regular cars on regular roads. Tell me the difference between the front wheel drive and the back wheel drive.
Yeah, so people don't actually not many people realize the difference in the dynamics of the car and how big a difference it makes. So in the front wheel, um, in the front wheel in the Fiesta, sort of when you brake and say you sort of the back end swings round or
Right,
whatever, you start to slide, you in a front wheel, if you put the throttle down, then the front wheels can kind of pull the car straight again, um, to
right,
stop you sliding. So if you go in too quick or you start losing grip or whatever in a front wheel, you can actually just put the throttle down and then correct it.
right.
In a rear wheel, it's a lot less forgiving. Obviously, if you start to slide and start to lose the back end, putting the throttle on is exactly not what you want to do. That will just make you spin.
You're
Uh,
gonna spin around, yeah.
yeah, so handling the slides and the movement of the car is done more with the steering. So that's what I sort of had to teach myself in that early stages. Because in a front wheel, if you do go in too hot and you do lose the back end or whatever because you maybe haven't braked hard enough, you can save it in that way. In a rear wheel, sorry, if you it's a lot harder. You can't just put your foot down and correct it. So it was a bit more scary, but a bit more fun. So that was the main difference.
Amazing. And now in 2026, you're doing it again. You're back with the same in the same category.
Yes, so we are staying for another year. Like I
Nice.
mentioned, obviously that I was racing against drivers who had done like a minimum 3 years in Caterham. So jumping in the middle, I did have less experience than the other drivers, obviously. So yeah, the first season was just about getting that experience, getting that track time up, and learning the car, learning the team, um, and learning the championship. So this year, I think it didn't make sense to move on since we were just sort of getting settled in 270R. So this year, the goal is more, we've learnt the car, we've learnt the championship, we know how it all works, and yeah, we'll just be really focusing on results this year.
So when you sit down then to set your goals for the year, do you set goals per race or for the whole sort of championship together, or do you have really small goals or overarching goals? Like how do you look ahead into the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think I often have goals of every size and everything that I do. I think mentally I'm always setting targets for myself, obviously being quite competitive. So yeah, we'll have general goals for the season. So obviously getting a podium would be the goal for this season, couple podiums, race wins, etc. And then yeah, we will have more specific round goals. So um, they're obviously set when we get to them. But I think it's definitely hard not to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to these goals too much. Obviously, I love racing, and it's what I love to do. It's my passion, and I think it's really important to obviously have these goals and structure your progress and your planning, but not depend on them for your happiness of the sport, because it is what I love doing and I do just enjoy it. So yeah, we definitely do have goals, but I try not to fall into the comparison trap.
Yeah, I was always going to ask that. How do you balance then having fun and enjoying what you're doing with all these, goals or, yeah, practical goals that you have to, get a podium? What if you don't, that race or something like, can you still enjoy it? And how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's hard. It's obviously hard as an athlete, not depending or relying on results to determine how you feel. So, like personal reflection and self comparison was quite a big thing for me. Obviously, starting late, I didn't go in winning everything. um, and if I ever qualified at the back or whatever, it was quite hard. Being quite young to not compare yourself to all the other drivers. So yeah, that's where sort of personal development and reflecting on myself became quite important, and I learnt that at quite a young age, thankfully. Um, so yeah, just looking at how I've developed, how I've progressed, okay, I didn't get a podium, but I gained 3 places that race instead of one in the last one. It just personal reflection like that, yeah, became quite
Yeah,
important for me.
no, that makes sense. Yeah, you're talking about mentality in racing, so I'd love to. This is a good way to go into the next part of what I wanted to ask you about. Looking then at racing from a macro level, um, mentality in motorsport. How do you keep yourself concentrated on the task at hand before and then during a race when you're in the thick of it? How do you keep your focus?
I think I don't struggle too much with staying focused. I sometimes can actually be too focused, and I just need to take a step back and, chill out a bit.
Relax.
Um, obviously, because I'm so competitive, I'm so tuned into like, right, what am I doing? Let's look at the data. Let's compare it to this day, this driver, whatever. You know, what did I just do that lap? Like, did I break a sec, like a 1 point whatever? You know, I'm quite tuned into the details of it, being quite an analytical person. So I really do enjoy the data side of it. So sometimes it's actually the opposite. I'm sort of trying to um take a step back sometimes. So listening to music and just chilling out. Obviously my dad comes with me to every round, so obviously I talk to him about everything. Um and yeah, it's quite funny. Obviously in juniors I'd be the first one in the office, first one looking over data, and I'd be the last one to leave as well. So for me it's actually the opposite of just trying to chill out sometimes.
So don't focus too much on it and actually enjoy and relax and
Yeah.
have fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I said, I do love racing. Like it's what makes me happiest. So just taking a chill pill sometimes and just enjoying it is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Do you ever get nervous before racing or
Oh
during
yeah,
the race?
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, because I'm so competitive, and obviously I try not to, but I can fall into the results dependent trap. Um so yeah, I do get um, a bit nervous before races, obviously. I don't really know any driver who doesn't. Some just manage it better than others. Um, but yeah, no, so I do sometimes get too focused, um, especially when you're sat on the grid waiting to go, and you sat there for like a couple minutes, and you can't even speak to anyone because you got a helmet on, you can't hear. Um, that's obviously a very stressful period. Um, but yeah, I try not to overthink it too much.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking when I have talked to some other racing drivers before, I have heard from people that when something goes wrong with the car, say in the middle of the race, something is not feeling right, that is also a difficult time to sort of, keep your composure and continuing racing at a high level. So, how do you process when something goes wrong that's not under your control?
Well, I think you explained it quite well. Taking the viewpoint that it's not in your control. You know, as a driver, we are trying our best to compete at a high level, and so is the team, so are the mechanics. You know, that's what they're trying to do as well. And when things do go wrong, it happens. That is racing. You know, it's a very complex sport, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So whether that's the car or whether that's another driver, I think remembering that not everything is in your control. Obviously, it's hard being an athlete, and with a lot of people sort of determining your worth and your value based on your results, it is quite hard to not get too hung up on it. Yeah, not things do go wrong, even at the top levels in F1 and everything, things still go wrong, and not everything is in your control. But I think remembering that you your job is to be the best and perform the best in what you can control.
Yeah. And then after something goes wrong, either that was within your control or not, then you have the disappointment that happens after that. How do you process those feelings then afterwards, saying, hey, I did something wrong or something wrong happened, and now how do you think about that after?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, whenever I mess up as a driver, because that happens. Every driver messes up sometimes. When that does happen, it's important to speak to your mechanic, speak to your team and your coaches, and understand what went wrong, what you did wrong, maybe what else happened. And I'm very lucky to have very good coaches around me and with my team. So when we're debriefing everything, looking at what went wrong and what to learn for next time. Obviously, being quite still new in my racing journey, the learning curve is still very, very steep for me, and I appreciate that. So I'm learning a lot still to this day. I'm learning so much every race day. Um, so yeah, debriefing with the coaches and learning what not to do and what to do next time.
Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. Having your support system there, both the mental support system and the practical support system of your team to look at what happened and how to do it differently next time. Yeah, that makes sense. We're talking about the mental a lot, but does physical fitness play any specific role in you being a good or a better or a worse racing driver?
Yeah, it really does. And I think people can often overlook that and not see racing as a physical sport, but it very much is. Obviously, there's quite a lot of endurance needed. Races can be very long, and you're doing a lot in a day. On a test day for us, we have 2 test days per round, and each test day can have up to 2 hours of driving on track. So and then added on to then the quali day and 3 more races. So, um, there's a lot of endurance needed over a race weekend, which is important, but also in terms of strength, coping with the Gs that you pull in the car is very important, obviously. Having great neck strength and arm strength is quite key, and it's quite hard to train for racing, um, which I quickly learned when I started this journey because it's quite niche muscle groups that you're using and quite niche and like it really specific movements that you're doing. So I definitely do get a couple funny looks in the gym when I'm doing like this weird workout on neck exercises that people have never seen before. But yeah, no, it does take a lot of training and hard work.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, you're in the gym just strengthening your neck and people are looking at you funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Well, I'd love to shift our conversation slightly into more of the business aspect of racing. But before I do that, did I read correctly that you're currently studying economics at the University of Liverpool?
Yes, I am. I'm currently sat in our library right now.
Nice. Okay, so tell me that story. How did you decide to, go to university to study economics and yeah, how all that happened?
Yeah, so I think like I mentioned, I was very academic at school. I was a bit of a nerd. I started the chess team. I was head student. I was very much I gave my all in both school and racing, which was what how I was raised. So um obviously I did my GCSEs and then I stayed and did my A levels, and a lot of the people that or the kids that I was racing against at those junior levels were sort of putting their all into racing, which I was equally doing, but they didn't necessarily like do A levels in school, and I don't know any really that went to university. So for me, obviously, I started quite late, and I wasn't irrational in thinking that I could put all my eggs in one basket and go all into racing, but realistically, having only done it for like 2, 3 years at that point, I did appreciate that I might not have been able to go professional. I might not have been able to make a career out of it. So, the smart thing for us was to yes, keep it in school, keep pursuing a career in that sense. So in school, I was very analytical. I really enjoyed problem solving, obviously, being a massive chess nerd. So that sort of tied in quite nicely to economics. Economics really interested me in school, and I had amazing teachers as well. So, yeah, so I've always given my all in both school and racing. So, yeah, I loved economics at school, and yeah, I just wanted to keep doing it. So I came to the University of Liverpool, which is great.
Nice, amazing. And obviously there must be a lot of overlap there for you, like you were saying, you with your analytical side, looking at the data and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure the economics and the
Yeah.
math involved in that probably helps you a lot in racing as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, doing racing from the age of like 15 got me very familiar with analyzing data and graphs and everything, and then applying that to the car and applying it to the real world, you know. So, and I loved doing it. I really loved the analyzing the data part. You know, like I said, after sessions, I'd be the first one in the office, and the other drivers hated the data. Like they were like, "Oh, all right, give me like 10 more minutes," and you know, they wouldn't like really fully pay attention. But I loved it. Like I'd often like sit my coach aside, and I'd be the one on the laptop, like getting all the data up and looking at all the data. My coaches sometimes didn't even need to do anything. I'd just do it myself. Um, so yeah, there is definitely a huge overlap with economics and racing and that analytical side to both. I'm definitely very familiar with analyzing graphs at this point.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say, are you probably a front row kind of person in class? Or are you not really a back row kind of girl?
Um, Definitely probably a front row. Um, like I mentioned, I was a bit of a nerd, still am to be honest. And yeah, I give my all in both sides of it, whatever I'm doing. So and I really do enjoy economics and racing. So I was definitely the one who was draining my coaches because they just couldn't they were just fed up of me of all the data sessions. And yeah, in economics and in school, then I am kind of the same.
Yeah. So, okay, we're talking economics here. So when we talk economics, I think finances. Okay. So I'm gonna make the small leap here, and I'm assuming also, racing, you're going to need a lot of financial support to be a professional driver. How do you approach then getting that financial support? Looking for sponsors, things like that. And what do you do then to make yourself an attractive investment for them?
Yeah, 100%. Racing is one of, if not the most expensive sport, which was great that that was the sport I fell in love with. And obviously, it is hard when you're racing against people with the different budgets. Um, Racing certain aspects of racing can sometimes boil down to who can afford the most track time, which is wrong. You know, in other sports, you know, in football, if you want to practice, you just go to the field and kick a ball around. You know, in racing, if you want to practice, you got to spend so much money to get the team there, get the car there. You know, just pay to be there and go around the track. So it is hard and it is a struggle for all drivers to find that finance and that backing. Um, and I manage a lot of that myself. I don't have like a management or anything. So I, you know, obviously being quite academic, I learned how to, you know, create a good pitch deck, and being head student got me quite good in public speaking and communication skills. So I have sort of taught myself the whole sponsorship and brand side myself, which has been a long journey, um, and it's probably not a skill that most 18-year-olds have, but
Yeah.
I did teach myself that side of it, and it is hard. You know, people think that I'm getting paid by the team to drive, and I'm making so much money from racing, but the truth is everyone who loves racing is actually, you know, it's costing them a lot, and it takes a lot of time, effort, and money to do so. So, yeah, it's definitely hard to manage that alongside the actual competing and then the university for me as well. Um, but no, I keep at it. It's a long process.
Yeah. So, okay, you were talking about a pitch deck, making yourself attractive to sponsors. Tell me about then your social media, okay? Because I work with this with pro athletes, social media as well. And, I see that a lot of athletes know they have to work on that, but they have a hard time working on that because all they really want to do is, play football or race or whatever it is that they're doing. So tell me about your social media. What has been your experience with it, and how do you see the importance of your online presence then in this day and age for your sport as well?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think online presence is so important now for athletes and anyone in any sport, but even more so in racing, obviously, because um a bigger audience is more attractive to brands and businesses, obviously. So yeah, you're definitely right in that a lot of drivers and a lot of athletes just, don't really want to have to deal with all of that stuff. Sometimes, well, more often than not, we'll just hire someone to do it for them. But for me, I do actually really enjoy it. I have I built an audience of motorsport lovers, and I love that I get to share my journey with them. So obviously, yeah, I manage all of that myself as well, and yeah, I really enjoy doing it. I love you know interacting and communicating with other people who love motorsport just as much as I do. And I'm very grateful that I have that audience of people who are actually interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, no, I do really enjoy um, creating content for my audience, and I do it all myself because I do really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that also will then help you with getting sponsors and getting financial support, right, on the other side as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm so grateful to have the audience that I do because um, obviously their support and their belief in me actually helps me out in terms of selling myself, and they're just liking my post or just giving me a follow is really helps me do what I love to do. So I am very grateful.
Yeah. That's cool. And switching over a bit to your life outside of racing now. Okay, okay. Before I do that, just a curiosity question, okay? Something I wonder about pro drivers a lot. How do you approach driving your day-to-day car when there's someone going real slow in front of you, far under the speed limit and horn up traffic? What do you do?
Honestly, I get this question all the time, and it is exactly what you think. It's so annoying and so boring. Um, I obviously I learnt to race before I learnt to drive, so the racing was the first nature for me. So when I learnt then to drive on the road, I had to unlearn everything I'd spent years learning. Um, so obviously it didn't take me long to pass my test when I turned 17 because I could already drive. Um, and I did pass that first time, thankfully, because if I didn't, I would never hear the end of it.
No
Um,
way.
but yeah, so when I first passed, my parents were adamant that I was getting a black box. I'm not. Do you know what they are?
No.
So in the UK, a black box is something that can be fitted into a car that monitors your speed and monitors your
Okay.
driving.
I
So
see.
when I passed, that was like absolute no discussions. Like I was getting a black box. So obviously being one of the first of my year group and my friends to pass, everyone was like, "Right, Jazz, like let's go, let's race round, like let's go." Because I live in the countryside as well, so it's
Mm,
just like really long,
yeah.
bendy, narrow roads.
It's like it's
Um,
asking for you to go fast, right?
yeah, it's like I could just go out and be a rally driver for the day, but I'm responsible. So they were obviously they were like, "Yeah, let's just go for a drive. Let's race round." Um, and I had to be like, "No, guys, like if you ever want to come for a passenger lap, then fine, but I'm not racing around these roads." A, because I literally couldn't with the black box, but B, because I had some sort of um rational thinking. Um, but no, now that I don't have a black box now, but I do
Okay.
still drive sensibly.
So you've
Um,
graduated out of the black box. That's good.
I have, yeah. I'm going into my 4th year of driving on the roads now, so I think my parents were like, "Okay, we'll let her off."
Any tickets? Yeah.
No, no,
There
I'm
you go.
fully
Good
fully
job.
clean, which is probably not the same for other racing drivers, but I have a clean track record. But no, it is definitely annoying, and it's hard to not switch into that, right,
Pass
overtake,
him.
like like that racing mode, especially when you're behind a slow driver, on a country lane.
That's too funny. Does the black box just monitor you, or does it also stop you from going past a certain speed?
So some just monitor and then I'll give you a score, and that communicates with your insurance. So if you're it'll tell your insurance, and if they see you breaking all the speed limits, they'll they'll increase it. Some do actually just not let you drive any over the speed limit. And obviously, living where I live in a tiny village, and there's so many like 20-mile-an-hour roads. And when I'm like when I was running late for school in the morning, and I had to stay at 20 mile an hour going down this tiny lane, it was just like, oh,
It's
it's
rough.
so annoying.
Oh yeah, man, I can imagine that. Okay, other than that, what do you do then outside of racing when you're on days off? What other than studying, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't get many, but when I do have a bit of free time, like I mentioned, when I was back in school, I did a lot of like extracurricular. I always had to be doing something. So I was very musical, so I learnt to play like the drums, the piano, the guitar, all of that. And I still do play the piano sometimes. Um, and then I also did a lot of sport growing up. So I played for netball and hockey clubs outside of my school. So that was the first sports that I actually played. And I still do play a bit of netball for my economics netball team, which is good fun. So yeah, I always need to be doing something, clearly. I can't actually take a day off. But no, I do love playing the piano as well.
Let's go. What's your favorite type of music?
Oh, honestly, I I'm such a music lover. I love all sorts of music, and I know everyone says it, but I genuinely do actually love every type of music. Maybe rock music is like a bit far for me, but everything else I love. So, um, I really love like house music and R&B. And I go to a lot of music events as well. I'm a huge music lover.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to guess rock and roll was your go-to because you know Liverpool and all of that. So anyway, okay. But cool, you like all kinds of music. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now looking into this year, you know, you've talked a little bit about what you're doing. So, and a little bit about your goals, but do you have any goals, bigger goals or big goals for further in the future within racing as well?
Yeah, I think obviously racing it's hard not to get carried away because funding and sponsorship is such a limiting factor. Um and and if you want to progress, you also need more money. Budgets can just increase exponentially when you start expanding into different types of motorsports. So I think obviously I would love to race for the rest of my life, and make a career out of it would be the end goal. And if not, just making enough, bringing in enough sponsorship just so that I can do it on the side. But no, making it as a professional career is the goal for me. Um, and I think the next step for us is probably then expanding into, international series, whether
Mm,
that's single seaters or GT racing, endurance racing. We're sort of looking at it all at the minute, which is exciting. I'm very excited, but yeah, like I mentioned, funding is the main factor, sadly, for all drivers. So yeah, we've got big dreams. Whether the budget and the sponsorship can handle them is a different story. But hopefully, I can keep racing.
makes sense. Big dream is to do it full time. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the plan.
Amazing. Well, Jasmine, we're almost done, but as we finish up here, um, we do have a segment on the show. It's called Quick Fire. Okay, so I would give you two
Ooh.
options to choose from, and you'd have to pick one. Is that okay? Are you up for that?
Yeah. Oh dear.
Okay, so if you're ready, then here's Quick Fire.
It's quick fire time! Oh!
Morning person or night owl?
Oh, night owl. 100%.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, I love both, to be honest. I'm a bit of a caffeine addict. I'd have to say a good cup of tea though.
I was gonna say, British, it's you kind of
Yeah,
have to say
I
tea
kind of have to
almost,
say tea. Yeah.
Um, okay, structure routine or go with the flow?
Well, I would love to say structured routine. Um, but honestly, I'm probably more of a go with the flow type of person, which definitely stresses my parents out that I never have a set plan on anything. But no, I'm definitely more of a we'll just see how it goes type of
That
person.
that's funny. I would have sworn it would have been structure routine because of all the economics and the analytical side of you, but I guess I
Yeah.
was wrong. Okay,
I
nice.
think I do love to have a plan, and I probably feel calmer when there is a structured plan. But
Right.
with with everything and I'm trying to juggle, I think I've just taken a step back and gone, right, all right, okay. I can't have this many plans.
All right. City life or countryside, small town?
So I grew up in the countryside, so that is probably what everyone would expect me to say, but honestly, probably a city person.
Okay.
It was quite boring being in a village with like two other people your age.
More things to do in the city, right?
Yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, Liverpool, I'm sure gives you all of what a
yeah,
big city has to offer, so I'm sure you're
yeah.
really
And it's
happy
on the
where you are.
beach, and we've got
Amazing.
beaches.
That's amazing. That's the best of both worlds, you know? You got beach,
Yeah,
you got city, you got all of
yeah. I mean, they're quite cold, but still.
it. Okay, so head or heart?
Ooh, definitely head. I'm a very like analytical, um, logical person. Yeah.
Summer or winter?
All summer. Although I do, with my Scottish heritage, I do burn very easily, but I'd have to say summer.
So summer with a lot of um what do you call
Yeah, a
it?
lot of sunscreen.
Sunscreen, yes, a summer with a lot of sunscreen.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Wet track or dry track?
Ooh. Um, I'd probably say dry. Um, because like I said, I'm very like logical. Like this is how I know how to drive in the dry. When it's wet, everything kind of goes up in the air. Um, although it is fun, and I am probably a bit quicker in the wet. Dry is more familiar.
Racing then in the daylight or at nighttime?
Oh, that's a good question. I've only ever raced in the daytime, but I'd probably
Okay.
say night. I think doing a night race looks really cool.
Yeah, I can imagine, like all the lights and the
Yeah,
people and
it
the
just looks so
excitement.
cool. Looks
Well,
sick.
feel really cool too. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet snacks or salty snacks?
Ooh. Um, salty, I think. Savory
Okay,
person.
savory, yeah. Carry on only when you travel or overpacking?
Oh, I'm such an overpacker, and it stresses my dad out. Obviously, when we go to a race weekend, I'll have a
Yeah.
race like suitcase for my race, like my suit and everything. Then I'll have bag for the helmet. Then I'll have like a duffel bag. Then I'll have a suitcase, and like the whole car is just full. He's like, "Jazz, we're going for like 1 day, or we're going for like 3 days," and it just stresses him out. But I do pack way too much.
Yeah, I can imagine being your dad, looking at all the stuff you have to bring. And then
Yeah.
we're going there, you're coming right back. So
Yeah. The team know I'm there when there's like 5 bags in the truck in the corner.
Makes sense. Okay, last one. Aggressive start or patient opening laps?
Ooh, I'd probably say aggressive start. I mean, that's more fun. That's racing. That's more fun.
Nice. You got to get there quicker, faster.
Yeah, I just want to be racing. I just can't wait.
Well, Jasmine, that's all I have for today. Again, I want to thank you so much for your time, your
Of
willingness to
course.
come on the show, share your story. I really appreciate it. Why don't you let people know also, your socials if they want to go follow you and check in on your journey?
Yeah, so all of my handles are the same on every platform. It's Jasmine Shaw Racing. Um, and
Easy?
yeah, everything is the same. And yeah, if you do want to support my journey, giving me a follow would be very helpful and I'd be very grateful. And we are expanding into YouTube vlogs this season. So there's a lot more
Ooh,
content coming for behind the scenes
nice.
sort of things. So yeah, it'll definitely be fun to watch if anyone wants to give me a follow.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure to tune into those. And thank you again, Jasmine, and to everyone listening as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you all next time on Under the Sportlight.